Hey guys, Peter here to do an album review. Today I'm here to tell you all about the latest album from Suicide Silence, Become the Hunter, out February 14th on Nuclear Blast. The album has 11 tracks, 40 minutes in length, and this the band's 6th full-length studio album. Heavy, demolishing, relentless, groovy, some of the words that you can use to describe not only the sound, but the overall feel, texture, structure, even vocals on this record. They have a very specific blend of deathcore. There's definitely a fingerprint, a DNA that's very specific to this band and to the way they approach records, not only from a sound perspective, like I said, but the overall construction of the record that makes their albums very unique. The moment you start listening to the album, you immediately know that this is a Suicide Silence record because of those different characteristics that they're not afraid of blending into their deathcore sound in order to give it a more robust feel. The album really picks up intensity as it goes along. Overall has a linear feel, but you can totally tell that this is an album that, as far as intensity is concerned, it really picks up with every single song on the album. So there's a growth with the record that comes with every single song, but overall the album is very compact in its approach, and one of the reasons for that is the heaviness that it has all the way through. So it doesn't matter what elements they add on any given song, either be a change in vocal style or a little bit more of a groovy riff here or a little bit more of an atmospheric element there. All of those elements are there in order to give the song a little bit more of a rich surrounding. But the heaviness that the song carries is something that is present on every single track, and that unifies the whole album and the whole listening experience. Speaking of atmospheric elements, I really like the atmospheric soundscapes that they included on some of the tracks. That combined with the vocal approach really allows the album to have a very rich sound. It really has a heavier, a larger than life atmosphere, a really thick and brutal approach. I like that. It was something different, was something that I really enjoyed, and something that really breaks the songs apart. It really creates a very unique sound fingerprint to each individual song, allowing overall the songs to have a very common denominator, which is the brutality and the heaviness, like I mentioned before. But including these different elements, like these atmospheric soundscapes, really breaks the album apart. It really breaks the songs apart, not allowing a couple of songs in a row to sound exactly the same or to have the same dynamics, and therefore not becoming a repetitive record all the way through. The addition of groovy guitar riffs is a different element that they add in order to really create that dynamic sound, and I really like that. Some songs they use it more, some songs they use it less, and I really like when they hide it within the track, just having this grooviness just peeking its head all the way throughout the record, and a track here and a track there. It's extremely well done and not overly played, and that to me is the key factor as well for how good this record sounds and for how good this record is. It's always important for you to add these elements, but the key component in my opinion is to not oversell them, to not overuse them on every single track, because what makes the tracks different, if it becomes too much of a same thing on a track-by-track basis, it becomes repetitive as well. So I really like the approach that they took here, using things like acoustic guitars, really groovy riffs, guitar solos that had very melancholic feeling to it, some of them having a lot more aggression, a lot more intensity, using pretty much the same components but in a different way, with a different approach, with a different outlook, to really create very unique and different songs. Overall, creating a very strong and cohesive record. This is a great album by Suicide Silence, an album that really delivers a powerful message, not only in the lyrics, but also in the sound that it has. The two are really partners on the journey that you will take the moment you start listening to this record, and it's one of those records that really pushes the band to the forefront of deathcore and really makes them stand out from the crowd. This is a very solid record from a very solid band, a record that if you're a fan of the genre, but even if you're in the periphery, if you're one of those guys that or gals that listens to deathcore but not a lot because you're not a huge fan of the genre, this band with this record, I think it will appeal to you because it really pushes the boundaries of the genre. It really goes a little bit beyond the walls, beyond the restrictions of deathcore, and it has a more elevated sound all around. As far as tracks are concerned, I picked 3 tracks that offer something very different and very unique. The common denominator through all 3 is really the brutality and the aggression and intensity that they carry. But all of them have different components, all of them have different structures. Starting with In Hiding, powerful track, great underlining grooviness that this song has, and sometimes is hidden by how heavy the overall track is. The groovy elements sometimes disappear and then they reappear, more so in the verses than in the chorus. The song becomes a lot heavier in the chorus than it is in the verses. The verses, you can feel that grooviness kind of peeking its head in, but I really like that. And when that grooviness goes away, it's replaced with absolute brutality, both musically and vocally. There's a vocal bridge that leads into the solo that I feel like it's absolutely menacing, and then the guitar solo itself, it has a lot of darkness, which is something that this song doesn't necessarily have, but by adding a solo that has that darkness really changes the dynamics. It changes the overall feel that this song has. Great track. Next, Skin Tight, a more somber song, definitely a song that has a little bit of more darkness to it, both musically and vocally. You can feel like the song really progresses, it really moves along as it moves in from the verses to the chorus. A song that definitely has a break in between those two elements, returning more to the darkness into the verses and having a lot more aggression in the chorus. That is really the dynamic of this track. It's really a track that's broken down by those two different elements. But the somber and the dark aspect that the song has in the verses is absolutely magnificent. Really matches perfectly the vocal style and the vocal approach that they used in that portion of the song, and allowing the chorus and all the heaviness that comes through it to be jolts of aggression and energy that really pump life into this track. The heaviness that follows the second chorus is absolutely destructive. It kills the song. It changes the song completely. It removes all the darkness that the track had all the way to that point, and it just gives you pure and brutal sound coming at you. I love this track. I love that dynamic that it has, but more important, I really love the darkness that they put together with this song. It really feels like a very somber, dark track. Next, Serene Obscene. They use an acoustic guitar to start off this track with a very dark and melancholic melody. I like the vibe that specific intro gives to the song. Once it passes beyond that, it moves into a more familiar territory. The song becomes a lot more heavy, a lot more brutal, but it never loses that melody. What they did was they converted that acoustic guitar melody into an electric guitar melody, and they kept that throughout the track, really peeking its head here and there, giving the song this underlining of pure melody that is the perfect contrast to the overall brutality that this track has. So this becomes a song that really blends melody and brutality and aggression, and it does it perfectly throughout. So you have always this jolting for power, this power struggle between those two elements throughout the track that gives the song this absolute forward motion, but makes the song very complete and diverse at the same time. I really love this song, my favorite track on the album. Alright guys, this is it. This is Suicide Silence, Become the Hunter, out February 14th on Nuclear Blast. Let me know your thoughts on the band, on the singles. Use the comment section below. I'll be reading those and getting back to you. Take care guys.